Hey everybody, welcome to Pop Culture Philosophers. It's time for Comics Revisited. Today we're talking about What If number 4. What if the Invaders had stayed together after World War II? That's right, everybody. Thanks for checking out the video. I am Rockin, Robbie, Billups. This is
Brooks the Magnificent.
And today here on Comics Revisited, we're talking about What If number 4. You know, every season, me and Brooks have been going through these what ifs, and they've been fun. Mm-hmm. They've been really fun, and now it has led us, this journey, to what if the Invaders had stayed together after World War II. Written by Roy Thomas, artwork by Frank Robbins, inking by Frank Springer. This book came out like in the late 70s. It was the 4th issue. There was a lot of stuff. There were apparently Brooks delays in What If at the time. And so they kind of put this story in there. I'll be honest with y'all. This was not the funnest read or revisit. Like, I don't know. It ironed itself out to me. Like, I read it once and I was like, what? And I read it again and it kind of ironed itself out just a little bit. But this one does not feel like any of the typical what-if stories that we know and love today. Like, even the first 3 Brooks definitely felt like what-if like tales, right?
Yeah, well, also, it doesn't really affect, like, the current Marvel Universe at the time, because, you know, it still was happening, like, back in, like, you know, the 40s or whatever.
Yeah.
In World War II times.
Yeah.
So, like, it's kind of just a continuation, sort of.
It's got some great ads in it. It's got that old kind
I like
of
how it says, like, on the bottom you can read, like, next page after ad or something.
Oh, like yeah, continued next page after ad. So basically what had happened is in the 70s, Roy Thomas, one of his passion projects at Marvel, was a book called The Invaders, right? And The Invaders, Brooks was telling these stories of Captain America and Namor and the Human Torch and Bucky and Toro and other members of their crew. And it was telling these untold tales of the Marvel Golden Age. Because Marvel back in the day was timely. They had Captain America, Namor, and Submariner, right? But they never had the Invaders. That didn't come until a retroactive continuity thing, or a retcon, as one would say, happened by Roy Thomas. It was a passion thing he wanted to do. He wanted to flesh out this golden age of comics. In fact, Roy Thomas was one of the very first proponents of people buying up and preserving the Marvel timely comics from back in the day, right? So we had a big passion for that era. So The Invaders is going on at the time. And there's this big note in this story, right? Did you read the note where they basically explain that this is not your typical what if? We had other writers lined up, but the scheduling couldn't work out. So Roy threw this story in because this is a tale that the Invaders will never get to. Because in the book The Invaders, Roy Thomas, along with Frank Robbins, the artist of this issue, they were the creative team. So they were doing this Invaders story, but they knew that they were never going to get to the end of the war. And what happened to these characters, Namor and Submariner, after you know, Namor, Human Torch, and after the death of Captain America, right, and Bucky, the death, right. So that's what this whole book is about. Overall, what did you think about this, Brooks?
It was not great.
Yeah,
but it does have some fun, you know, goofy, silly, Silver Age type shenanigans going on in it that kind of makes it, you know, not too bad. You know, not like a terrible read, but it's kind of a dull story.
It is a little bit of a dull story because it's more like this is part of the Roy Thomas Invaders run. Yeah. Right? And that's not something that I've never read that stuff. And I've always wanted to, but I never did. You know? Yeah. So I don't know. I like the idea of Cap, Namor, and Human Torch together, but I don't know. Like, I don't know. It's never really... I don't know. I think that's something maybe we should make a conscientious effort to, like, get more into the Marvel Golden Age, right? You know, like, read more of that. I read the first appearances in the first few issues of the Human Torch and the Namor one for sure. Yeah. And I've checked out some of the Kirby and Simon Captain Americas. But anyway, all that aside, never read the Roy Thomas Invaders series from the 70s. Okay? So in this one, there are other characters. There's the Wizard. There's Miss Union America, Jack, Miss America.
The Spirit of Liberty.
The Spirit of 76.
Yeah, that's right.
And Spitfire, right? So let's run through the story real quick because that's what we do here. So it starts off with a big recap of Captain America and Bucky basically dying from their last final confrontation with Baron Zemo. Yeah. The Baron Zemo we know today.
He ties them to a missile, of course.
Yeah, of course, right?
Yeah, I mean, why wouldn't you kill somebody like that?
And if you notice, Captain America saves himself a little bit in there. It's because they even mention it in the editor's note. There's a little like they were like, this is time travel shenanigans, whatever, because some craziness was going on. But anyway, so what happens is they show that dying, right? And that's usually how What If starts. Is it will show something that you're familiar with.
It's like a big event, like a character death or something like that.
But this one doesn't really tell you what if something happened. It just says this is basically probably what actually happened in the Marvel Universe after all this, right? Yeah. Because Roy Thomas always had this idea, because Marvel/Timely/Atlas were publishing Captain America books all the way through the 40s and the 50s, right?
And wasn't he like Captain America, Commie Smasher or something?
Yeah, Commie Smasher, all that stuff, right? So they were trying to explain how there was a Captain America in all these ages. Now, Steve Englehart had done a run on Captain America where he explained part of it, but not the first part of it. So that's really what Roy Thomas is doing in this issue, is explaining where these other Captain Americas come from. So it starts off with the death of Captain America. Then we find out the Human Torch killed Hitler.
Right? He was burned to death, but he wanted his general to tell everyone he committed suicide.
Yeah, he's like, please tell everybody I committed suicide.
What does that matter?
I love it because Human Torch has this line where he's like, lying to the very end. So like it's even written like something from the 30s and 40s. Then they get into the stuff where Namor's fighting at the Pacific Front. Then they introduce Spitfire and Union Jack, and apparently this was a continuity glitch with the Invaders because this tale was set to come out after. I really feel like this was written, Brooks, for the Invaders, and they like needed to put something out for What If that month, and they just went with it because at the end of issue 3 they say they're doing the Conan issue next, but instead they did this one. Then next issue is the What If Captain America Survived World War II, which is probably a more appropriate look at the Golden Age idea. But I feel like they got behind in their schedule, right? Because John Buscema was coming in to do that Conan issue, and I think they just kind of threw a shelved Invader story in.
Yeah, I would believe that.
It feels like that. It just feels like that, right? I don't know. So anyway, Namor, Spitfire, Human Torch, and all them, they meet Truman, Harry Truman. They get called back to the States. Spitfire and Union Jack stay there. Then we get introduced to Miss America and the Wizard.
Yeah, they don't really factor too much into it till the end.
Not too much. They're from the All Winners Squad.
Yeah.
Right, and that's even what they eventually call themselves here because Truman wants them.
Because the war is over, so they're not the Invaders anymore.
Yeah, they let him know that Cap and Bucky are dead. So basically, Cap, but then he's like, "But here they are." Yeah. Surprise!
I like the idea of the Captain America and Bucky mantle getting passed down.
Yeah. So Captain America and Bucky show up, but it's actually not Captain America and Bucky. It's actually the Spirit of 76, which is a character they've met before, and Fred Davis, Yankees bat boy.
Yeah, some guy that played baseball with Bucky.
He was the bat boy of the Yankees, and he filled in for Bucky one time in an Invaders special or something like that. See, this is all tied into the Invaders. My favorite thing is, though, the Spirit of 76 pulls off the Captain America mask, but he still has his own mask and that powdered wig on. And
he's got a little ponytail.
Yes. He's like, I wore this under the mask so you'd recognize me. What? Anyway, so there's a new Cap and there's a new Bucky, and it's explained. It's the Spirit of 76 was a character that was in existence or whatever. Enter Wizard and Miss America. That's where they show up. They defeat Japan, eventually surrenders. The World War II is over. Truman wants them to stay together as the Invaders, but they're like, that name doesn't make sense, so we're going to be the All-Winner Squad. Which the All-Winner Squad was those characters with Captain America and Bucky, but, retconned later on by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby that they were dead or whatever, and, all this story. It's just, they're fitting it all in. So anybody that complains about comic books and how they have to go back and rewrite their continuity, they've been doing this for a long time. You know what I'm saying? They've been doing this for a long time. So they stay together. They're the All-Winner Squad. This is a throwback to, they did 2 issues back in the golden age of this team. And so they threw them into Marvels or all that stuff. But anyway, that's what happens. Then entered this dude, Adam 12, who is Professor Horton's second attempt at artificial life. He's an evil version of Human Torch, basically. Yeah, but he doesn't burst into flame.
He doesn't care about human life.
Yeah, he doesn't. And he's got this big plan. He's doing this crazy stuff. He's trying to replace John F. Kennedy as he's running for his congressional
seat.
With a robot. Because he sees something in this young man.
And he can control the robots. He wants to wipe out humanity so that he can replace them with androids, and he'd rule the androids.
Yeah. In this story, we're introduced to another Captain America Spirit of 76-esque character named the Patriot.
Yeah.
And in the battle with Adam 12, Captain America gets crushed and dies. But all of a sudden he appears again and he helps save the day. But alas, it's actually what's in the Patriot.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, and it ties it all together. So it basically, and then they're all like, well, it sucks that dude died, and we've lost 2 Captain Americas, and but there we go, right? And that's basically the story. It's really not so much a tragic turn of events, like a different alternate take on something.
It's the least dark of the what if so far, I think.
But they still got someone dying.
Yeah. But it's like you don't care as much because, like, it's not anybody from the Marvel Universe that we know,
Yeah.
These characters are, like, so kind of, from the past anyway. It's like, well, they're kind of going to be dead in the current continuity anyway, so it's like, who cares whether you kill them or not.
Yeah, well, Roy Thomas, of course, was a comic book fan before he became a comic book writer and editor, and he cared about the continuity, and he just wanted to fix this late Golden Age Captain America glitch in continuity, and so he did it and with one single issue of What If, but it doesn't have an alternate take on something. It does get a little dark at times, but the thing is, we were always talking about What If was a great example, and like it helped me and you when we were kids reading What If comics, especially Volume 2 stuff from the 90s, right? Yeah. Late 80s. We were talking about how that helped us learn about Marvel history. Yeah. So even though this is not your typical What If book, you learn a lot about the Golden Age, right? Like the Wizard and Miss America. Like the character, for instance, America Chavez is a modern day take on Miss America. So these characters still have a legacy in the Marvel universe. Yeah. I almost said Marvel Cinematic Universe because I'm so accustomed to saying that, and it kind of sickens me. Overall, what do you think about this book and how it fits in, and what did it tell you about the history? And it also teaches a little bit about American history.
Yeah, a little bit.
A little bit.
It was a very. It felt like it would have fit in back in the day, like when they were doing those comics where Cap and Namor were fighting the Nazis and all that stuff.
Oh yeah.
Or just back in the day when before Marvel, the original Cap stuff. It feels like it would fit in there, but it's not. I mean, as far as those kind of stories go, I would say it's a decent one, but not great. Nothing that really would stick in your mind.
I think the most significant thing about
it's not crazy enough, I guess.
I get that. I think the most significant thing about this issue is that first of all, it explains the Captain America glitch. Like, so there was Steve Rogers, and he was MIA. Him and Bucky. By the way, the Watcher's lying to us. Because he says, Bucky's gone, never to be returned again. He's dead. Does the Watcher not see everything? Or was he lying to us?
He was lying, man.
He was lying. The Watcher lies.
They didn't take an oath of telling the truth.
Yeah, no kidding. They just took an oath of watching and not doing. But
it's like, we can still fuck with you.
We can still lie. Anyway, but it fills in that gap. It lets us know that after Steve Rogers, there was the Spirit of 76. He died. Then there was Liberty. He eventually dies. And then he gets replaced by the Commie Smasher, who becomes very wrapped up in this McCarthyist stuff, and that's the Steve Englehart stuff. And then Steve comes back off of ice, right? And now as the alternating time slide, because back in the day this completely filled in the Captain America gap until 1963 or 4 or whatever. Yeah. Now there's a bigger gap. So there were no Captain Americas in the 70s, right? But that's where Nuke for the Daredevil Born Again story comes from to do, and stuff like that. So they're trying to keep that program alive. We know that's Weapon Plus, whatever. Going on and on and all that. I think that's important.
Wasn't it Grant Morrison that made it turn it to Weapon Plus?
I think he was the first one to add
because I think the idea was that Wolverine was Weapon 10 instead of Weapon X.
I think that was a Morrison idea first. I really do. And then they did Truth, and that was Weapon 0. Captain America's Weapon 1. Or maybe he's Weapon 0 and the Truth. Because they experimented on a black man first, right? And they did that book about him. Isaiah Bradley, I think, was his name. Do you know about him? You should read The Truth. It's called Red, White, and Black. The Truth, Red, White, and Black. It's like before they would ever do this experiment on a white man, they would try it on a black man first back then to make sure that I'm saying, like the Tuskegee type thing. Yeah, it's that kind of idea, and it's actually a really interesting book. We should cover it one day on Comics Revisited, possibly. Anyway, What If number 4 to me ultimately kind of a disappointment. Like I said, though, it fills in those gaps for Captain America. It has the appearances of 2 American presidents, Harry Truman and John F. Kennedy, as he's running for Congress. Yeah, and they save his life. And you see Jackie a little bit from the back there towards the end. And you also see Hitler get killed by Human Torch, and that's kind of cool.
He gets burned to death.
He gets burnt to death.
Pretty good.
By the Human Torch. It kind of accidentally almost in a way, you know. He's like, "Oh, I killed him."
It's like he pulled a gun on, "Oh, you'll never take me alive," type moment, and then the Torch is like, "Oh, well, I guess I have to."
You ain't got to explain it to us like we're gonna be mad that the Human Torch killed Hitler. Like we're cool with that, you know what I'm saying?
And yet somehow, while he's burning to death, he manages to get out. "Don't tell everybody I committed suicide."
Tell them I committed suicide.
I'll do that.
Right.
And then that guy just walks off. You know, I guess they decided they didn't have to stop him.
This book also really put something in terms that I've never really quite got, and it's something that I really think could be explored in a period piece for Captain America around the time of his death. The death of Captain America in the Marvel Universe would have happened right basically in the same month as the death of Franklin Delano Roosevelt. Can you imagine how that would have felt?
Yeah.
Like, and you could actually do a Marvels-esque Alex Ross, Kurt Busiek type thing, focusing on the state of the nation there and how that works together, like with what's going on in current events and the whole environment.
I wish they would do some more,
and,
like, you know, like maybe fill in those gaps by telling stories from, you know, those eras that kind of, you know, or maybe retelling, you know, stories.
That's fine. We want more of that. Just don't do it in a what if comic book.
Yeah.
Because we're expecting something else. By the way, if you can't get a single issue, there is these what if complete collections, volume 1 and 2, I think, out now. Collect a whole chunk of the original classic what if comics from 77 and onward. And me and Brooks are going to keep doing what ifs until we stop. What if
there's no more what ifs?
What if there were no more what ifs? I don't think
until all the alternate possibilities have been laid bare.
Yes, all right. Until we've scoured the entire Marvel multiverse. Anyway, so overall, that's what we thought. It's a decent one, but it's not the best. I liked 1, 2, and 3 way better, and I'm very excited for the next one, which we'll cover in season 3, which is what if Captain America lived through World War II. And that's really cool and exciting. So thank you guys so much. If you've ever read What If #4, let us know what you thought about it in the comments down below. Other than that, just let us know what's your favorite What If comic book ever. All right, that's a good one. Let us know in the comments down below. Thank you so much for checking out the video. Please do like, share, and subscribe. And join us next week for another Comics Revisited here on Pop Culture Philosophers. I've been Rockin' Robbie Billups. This has been
Brooks
the Magnificent. And we are Pop Culture Philosophers. Kramer